Welcome to the Starting Over podcast. I am your host, Edward Shelton, aka Dark Logos, and this is a show where we look at the strategies, tactics, and mechanics behind the game of heroclix. All right, I know it's a late show this week. I know a lot of people were like, "What's up? What happened? Are you dead?" No, I'm not dead. I'm not hurt. Not having a heart attack or anything. Pretty much just busy. I was going to try to get to the Wichita Rock, then that fell apart. Some other things sort of fell apart. Then I ended up recording on Dial H this weekend, so that was cool. Then I had uncle time, like just a better, bigger priority is being an uncle. So my little 3-year-old nephew, future super something, he came over and I watched him with my mom. Also had internet problems. Had to replace the router and router. That was a whole 3-hour affair, and I still have to do a firmware update on the router. So, yay! Good news is it costs $200 normally, and I got it for $100 because it was on sale. And then it went on like super sale on Amazon down to like $69, but I needed a router, so there's nothing I could do on that. All right, today what we're going to do is we're going to have a healthy mix of what's in your head, and then what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the new explosion meta tech that's out there, the Age of Ultron drone tech in the the ant tech. Okay, so we're gonna talk about those two things on today's show. So just bear with me. It's going to get a little complicated towards the end. Definitely when we start looking at that Ant-Man tech, because you have to invest fully into the whole affair to get it off. All right, so let's get started with what's in your head. And what I'm going to talk about up front is something I find very important, and that is teaching. And some people might say, like, well, Dark Logos, yeah, this is sort of an educational podcast. Of course, teaching is going to be important to you. But this sort of spawned out of my conversations last night from the Salsa Club. For those who are new listeners, I salsa dance, and I take dance lessons. My main goal is to make people feel, ladies I dance with, to make them feel like they're on Dancing with the Stars, even though they're not, and they're not anywhere close, but to get them to have that feeling. And so it allows me to exercise, allows me to meet people, it allows me to have a lot of fun and increase my social skills. But I was sitting outside the club talking to a gentleman that's way younger than me. He's 20 years old. And he was telling me about his complications being an instructor at the dance studio that I go to. This guy is a great dancer. He taught me a lot in bachata and how to do certain routines and whatnot. And what was interesting was he said he had a problem teaching. He didn't have a problem learning. He loved being an apprentice and learning how to dance better, but he had problems teaching. And then the thing I sort of realized is a lot of people out there that listen to the podcast get a lot out of the podcast and then go to their local venue and it's like, whoa, I want to have them understand all of this stuff that I'm getting so that I have better competition and they're better, but it's not translating right. Or you're even teaching new students and it's like, well, what's going on, new player? Like, you're just not getting it. So what I'm going to go over is the 3 major types of testings that help us learn. And unfortunately, if you're in Western school system, we only really primarily emphasize one type. And it's sort of sad in how we measure skill and intelligence and everything else. That's why we sort of deem some people this superior class of humanity and other people an inferior class of humanity, when really it's just a different type of mental exercise. So let's get into it. The 3 major types of testing to find out a person's aptitude or ability The first is the regurgitation method, which is your standardized test, which in the West we abuse to the upteenth ability. And it's, if you go and look into standardized testing, you'll see how corrupt that is. But we come back, we just come back to the foundations is, what's the purpose of a standardized sit down, write this stuff out test? It's to prove that you retain the knowledge that's been told to you and that you can regurgitate out that knowledge. Partially apply it, but really you're already going through the same motions that you're just regurgitating out 9 times out of 10. Okay, so we have that. Next, we have the oral exam. And I know some people might say, phrasing. But the main thing I learned from the oral exam, having done that in undergrad with one of my theology professors, it was an awesome experience because he told us everything that we were going to cover. And we were going to sit down with him for a 30-minute period. And he was going to engage every single one of us on a one-on-one basis and then ask for fine details. So there's no way for me to get the test and then tell, so-and-so else, like, he talked about this and this and this and this, be ready for that. Because my professor might hear me say something verbatim, like the 12 councils of the churches, what were there, what were the heresies taught, blah, 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 blah. Then from there, he might hear me say that perfectly, so he won't have any more questions. But if he goes into the next student and they get 10 of the 12 counsels right, they're like, and my professor might say like, okay, well, you missed this, and you missed these 2 things. Okay, what do you know about this in particular, about that counsel that you missed? Now, there's no way for me, who took the test first, to know that my professor's going to ask that second set of questions if I didn't get that wrong myself. Okay, so the oral exam has a place. Okay, and then finally there is the practical exam. This is when you go out there and do it in real life. You build it, your field educations. You have to do the major project, and it's 50% of your grade to show that you are actually understanding and applying the circumstances in a real world environment. Okay. Why do I bring these 3 up? These 3 methods are very important because each of them allows you to gauge the student that you're teaching in heroclix in various ways. And it allows them to have a greater understanding than you just sitting there and playing games with them. Now, you might say, Dark Logos, you're expecting me to write up a heroclix test and hand it to them and then tell them to, come back to me next week and fill it out. And I'm going to tell you if you think that that's what you need to do. One way of just sort of saying like regurgitation, and again, what's the main emphasis of a standardized test? We have to look at the emphasis. Is to make sure you're able to regurgitate. You can just come up to a student that you're working with and just like, okay, so what does incapacitate do? Don't look at your card. What does incapacitate do? And then they'll say what incapacitate does. And you'll be like, well, you're partially correct. It does this, 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 this. Okay, what does mind control do? And they'll say something, and you're like, okay, you got that correct. All right, what does perplex do? All right, so you don't have to actually write out a formal test, but you can start asking questions that requires them to have detailed knowledge regurgitated back to you. Okay, when you start going into the oral test sort of structure, the main thing that has to kick in is this. The oral test structure is there for you to have an active probe in the understanding and interactions of your student. You are paying attention to their nuance. You are paying attention to the way that they see it. You are asking them, how are they going to apply it in theory? Your theory crafting conversations are more like your oral exam than your practical exam. A lot of people might say, well, a practical exam is when I'm asking them questions about team building. No, it's not. No. Okay? Your oral exam allows you to look at specifically the inner workings of the theoretical matrix of your student. Okay? And that's important. That's really huge. because many times we try to like make intellectual clones out of our students. For me on this podcast, my main goal is to give you a set of skills so that when you leave me, you will still be you, but you will have a set of skills. You can disagree with anything I say in this podcast. It's your game, okay? It's your fun time, okay? Just like this podcast is my fun time, all right? But at the same time, if I'm going to say I'm doing a good job as a teacher, it's my main prerogative to hand you these sets of tools and say, these are the sets of tools I teach. You can do anything with these sets of tools, but my main goal is for you to know every single one of those tools before you leave. If you don't understand every single one of those tools before you leave, I have failed. And that's a big fault in the way that we teach new players. Because what we'll end up saying is, I have given you 200 tools, you've used 5, it's on you to figure out what the 195 that are left and what they do and figure out how to apply them. And that's really lazy teaching, because really what it more says about our community in part, and this is what I've seen in general, is that we want new players so that we have a big enough base to get the big events that we want without a threat to us getting those prizes. That's a reason why some people grow their community. So that when WizKids looks and says, "Oh wow, you have 30 people in attendance," and you have they won't look and see that the same 3 people are always winning. They're just going to see like, "Oh, you got 30 guys in attendance. Let's send you that Ant-Man box set thingy. Let's send you that new the prize kit stuff. Let me go send you that the Con LE weekend. Let's send you all that, buddy, because you're awesome." Yeah. Okay, they're not looking at how healthy your environment is, because you can have 30 people and have a very toxic environment and have 10 people and have a very healthy environment. Numbers does not indicate success when it comes to teaching. Now, if it comes to marketing, that's a different subject. But when we're talking about teaching, just because you have a large amount of people there that feel comfortable with the game does not mean that you have successfully taught the game. All it means is that there's a tons of mistakes that's going on every day, every match, that you just have no clue about because no one reports it, because the 2 noobs are fighting each other and they have a false understanding of what's really going on. Okay, that's really what's it. So usually I tell everybody that I play, like, hey, I do a heroclix podcast, listen to me. Because if anything, I won't cover the fundamentals. I won't be going with you every day like, let's talk about energy explosion and why it's good. And there's other guys that do that better. That's why I partner up with Glass Cabinet Films. And on the YouTube link section, Glass Cabinet Films, you can go look at his little video on energy explosion. Okay, cool. I have to redo the complex interactions, but you know what I found? When I went through all the powers and talked about complex interactions, hardly anybody watched it. Like, really. Hardly anybody watched them. Like, I maybe got like 40, 50 views on each video, which is about less than a third of my viewership. So I will come with you with high level, practical, this is in the now information. But sort of going back is, I tell people I have this podcast so that they can get information in a tool set so they can come back and apply it. Okay. So again, when you're having that oral exam, I know phrasing, oral exam, your main goal is to peek into your students' theoretical framework, and that you can tweak that. Now we're into practical, and this is the problem. We when it comes to the practical is the team building. Many times the practical building part, when we help a student, it's in one of the 3 major phases of the team building process. And the 3 major phases of the team building process, and I covered this a long time ago, is the construction of the team, the playing of the team, and then the analysis of the team after it's done being played. Most times, the mentoring in heroclix happens at stage 1 or stage 3, rarely stage 2, rarely stages 1 and 2, and even rarely, even rarely stages 2 and 3. Okay. Now, why is that? When we start with the construction element, again, most people don't want competition. Let's just be honest. You can say like, hey, if I make Jim better, when it comes time for me to win that LE I want, even though I can go on eBay and get it for $5, this little plastic man, I want to win it. And it's better for me to win it and beat Jim to feel awesome as I thump my chest. It costs you from getting better. It just does. Now, there's some smaller venues where it's the same 4 guys every weekend. You already know who it is. Everybody gets a prize anyway. But, again, when you start looking at 8 and up, a lot of people don't want to teach or even help team build because they're like, oh, I might not win the prize. I really want that prize. It's $5 on eBay. At a max 10, if you grab it real quick at max 10, and heck, you can buy like a whole prize kit off of some people for 30. So that ain't nothing. So coming back, team construction. Like I have my man Seth. He'll ask questions on our little private Facebook chat. I don't read it as much as I should, but sometimes when I've helped him out, it's always in. All right, let's look at this team design stage. And in the team design stage, if you've already had that second test, which is that oral exam, you already know that theoretical framework. So you can start spinning stuff around that works in the theoretical framework. If you're trying to make clones of yourself, you will just give them tech that will not work with their theoretical framework, and confusion will happen. And then you'll be wondering, well, why aren't they doing so well? It's because you gave them, your armor. You didn't make armor for them. So it's either too big or too small. It doesn't work. Okay, when it comes to the actual playing, what you have to do is, when you're teaching that, you're saying like, your application of your team. You know what your team is going to do. You know what maps your team is good on. You know what maps your teams are bad on. You know what maps are neutral. You are able to analyze your team in perspective to your opponent's team and know where your tempo is and where that falls on your map for your aggression and your fallback and your pressure. And it sounds like a lot, but prepping all of that is what I've done in coaching for years. Everything that I've done with my private tutoring and mentoring and stuff, anybody that's been a client of mine will say, like, yeah, we talked about the team. We talked about what it does. We talked about counters. We talked about what maps are going to be good. We talked about what maps are going to be bad. We talked about how to move on maps that are going to be good for us. We talked about how to move on maps that are going to be bad for us in the time that's allowed. Okay? But most people don't go through that because that requires work. And again, most people would rather beat Jim and Timmy than help Jim and Timmy get better. Okay? Because they'll be like, yeah, we talk about heroclix. We doing good over here. But really, you're not. You're doing good. He's not. There ain't no we're doing good. It's you doing good. Hypothetically, magical person, not you directly the listener. But if the shoe fits, I'm sorry. Okay? The last section is the post report. Now, I see this more at larger tournaments than I do at, just the standard everyday local tournament. Unless the shark comes in or the guy that has the bastard team that no one likes is there. This when people's... Yeah, I'm just going to cover that real quick. Sharks are usually... If you view a person as a shark, that usually indicates that your venue is weaker. Okay? That's it. There hasn't been anyone that's come to my venue in the last 2 years that I'm like, yep, shark. There's been people that have come in and I'm like, yeah, tough competition. But I've never had anybody that's come in like, yep, sharks. Okay? Because that puts them in a predator role and you in the prey role. And that's not right. Okay? If you feel that you can't fight back, it pretty much puts you in a victim mentality. You can fight back. It's just, do you want to fight back? Or is it And this is me speaking hypothetically here, people. Or is it the realization of your own status has caused you anxiety? All that time that you had to grow that you didn't invest in growth. And then now someone challenges you and shows you that they spent time growing, but you didn't. And here's the fruits of their labor, which is something that you thought was deserved to you, but now is not going to be bequeathed to you because you didn't work. And again, hypothetical you. So what happens is usually the shark comes in, or the one guy everybody hates in the venue that comes in, and everyone will talk about that team, how to beat that team, what you need to do, what you need to have. Oh my gosh, that guy sucks. I hate him. All this other emoting that happens. Like I've seen grown men act like 12-year-old girls about teams that they just hate. And they'll transfer all that emotion on that person. But here's the thing. If you take all the emoting out and you use that as a solid time to say, okay, what did you play against? Why did it go the way it did? Did you think about this during the round? Did this circumstance come up? Did you utilize this power? Did you utilize that power? Oh, okay, you did do this, you didn't do that, you did this other thing, so it got you these results. Next time, let's change up the first thing a little bit. Make sure you do the second thing and keep doing the third thing like you're doing already. And I think the next time that you play that matchup, you're going to be a lot better. Very few people have that conversation. And that is a very honest conversation that needs to go down frequently. And I do emphasize frequently, because the moment that people start in this mode of, well, I told Jim like 20 times about, his post-game wrap-ups, but, it seems like Jim isn't the sharpest tool in the shed there, and, I'm just going to let it go. For most people, and I'm gonna just put it out there, most people's retention in this world is low. Twitter has functionally made us stupider. Like the average attention span, I think it was like 10 years ago, was a paragraph. Before that, 20 years ago, it was a page of literature, okay? Now, it is the equivalent of a tweet. Literally, our attention span as humans has shrunk. So to expect that someone to get what you're telling them in the first 10, let alone 20, let alone 50 times, that ain't happening. That ain't happening. Definitely if you're dealing with someone sub 25. Definitely if you're dealing with someone sub 25. And I say that with the sub 25 disciple. I mean, that's the best way I can put it. There's things that I hit over and over and over again in different ways. But he's like, I know better because I've done this. And I'm like, okay, whatever, man, whatever. And then we come back later and it's like, but I tried. And I'm like, no, but didn't I tell you? It's like, but I tried. And like, no, I told you, you can't do that. So that's the thing. A lot of times being able to teach requires an extreme amount of patience that our very self-centered culture beats out of us. Because we're told that everything is about us and I and me, and that I must have the Con-LEs because I'm me. I deserve Con-LEs. I must have the limited figure because I deserve it because I'm me. You have to accept, love, and support and promote me because I'm me. And that's not how the world works. That's how politics works, but that's not how the world works. And when I learned that, it was a tough sort of like, ooh, I built a lot of stuff around people respecting the fact that I'm young, educated, and black. And then when I realized that most of the world doesn't give a crap about that, then I'm like, okay, I gotta start building around some other things here, because they don't give a crap about me being educated or black or young. They look at me like, can you do this, son? No, you can't do this. You need to get the heck up out of here. I don't care what you have. So that's the thing. Once we get into this patience mode, this long-suffering mode, that we understand that the end goal is a student that becomes better. that eventually makes us better teachers so that the student can eventually be a teacher. Okay? That's the most essential thing that goes on. People skip over Star Wars. That you have Jedi Grandmasters, you have Masters, you have Jedi Knights, you have Padawans, and you have Younglings. Okay? Just because you're a youngling doesn't guarantee you're going to be a Padawan. Someone has to pick you out and say, you're going to be my Padawan. Just because you're a Padawan doesn't mean that you're going to be a knight. Just because you're a knight doesn't mean that you're going to be a master. And just because you're a master does not mean that you're going to be a grandmaster on the force. And just because you're a grandmaster on the force doesn't mean that you're going to be on the council. And this is the thing that a lot of folks don't realize. Okay? They think that they're council member material when in actuality they're barely a Jedi Knight in the game. They can pick up their lightsaber and use a little force and a little mind control tricks, and they think they're hot stuff, and they think they deserve to be up there telling people, how to teach their students and stuff. But really, if you don't have people that are able to invest time in others, people that are able to be patient with the student, people that aren't, if you have to be able to learn from your students, be able to accept the strengths and weaknesses of your students without trying to impose your own nature on them and let them be them. If you can't embody those things as a teacher, your students will only get so far. And that's why, like, I tell people, like, check out Clicks TV, check out Generation Clicks, check out Dial H for heroclix, check out Glass Cabinet Films, because I sit at a specific sphere in heroclixdom as a teacher. Okay? I might not be the teacher that you need in your phase of heroclix life. You might need me later on. That's cool. Keep listening. When you realize that you need me, you're here. Okay? And you can go listen to all those old shows that you missed. But, and I say this in a big, huge but, that's fine. I might not be what you need right now, but I know maybe Glass Cabinet is. Maybe Dial H is. Maybe Clicks TV is what you need right now. Okay? So those are huge things. And then the last part of the practical exam, I really want to emphasize, is traveling higher level competition. Because traveling in higher level competition is able to assess you as a teacher and your students. Now, I'll say this. This year for Origins had taught me a lot about my teaching and those people that I've worked with, my students and my peers. Okay? And I learned I have a long way to go as a teacher, and I also start to understand the time difference, the huge time difference between disciples and what that means. For example, going back, I forgot the young man's name, a little boy I interviewed during Origins. His father is Uniquest, and he's on 4 Points Gaming Crew. He's probably one of the youngest and best players in heroclix, but he has at least 5 or 6 years of, I'll take that back, not 5 or 6 years, at least a solid 4 years of constant teaching and mentoring in heroclix while playing people that are older than him, that know more tricks than him, that he's able to pick them up and absorb them because he's a kid. But I have that kid, even though he's young in age, has 4 years of discipleship. I have my disciple who has had 8 months at the time with me. Who is better off? Who's better off? The kid that's 4 years old, or the 20-year-old that I've had 8 months with? The kid that's 4 years old, that's had 4 years of training. Okay, so you have to ask yourself, are you willing to invest 4 years into somebody, or 3 years? Heck, even 1. Is that a possibility? And then are you able to see the fruits of your investment later on? Or are we in like this quick, like flip it mentality where, okay, I put the money into you, you're this rugged house, I build you back up, you look cool, now I'm going to sell you to the highest bidder. Bam, instant value. Bam, I get validated. Bam, everybody sees I'm the man. Bam, I'm automatically on the High Council of Jedis. Yeah, bam, force lightning in your face. Blah. Okay, or are you willing to say like a farmer mentality is like, okay, I have this seed. I know that I have 8 older trees that are about to die in the next 6 years. This tree won't bear fruit in 10 years. Will only be able to bear fruit in about 10 years. So I better get all these other things going together. Okay, so I need about 10 seeds. So I can make possibly 6 to 7 trees because I know a couple of these seeds are going to die. Actually, crap, I might need 20 seeds so that I can somewhat come out ahead just in case like drought comes and I might lose some more trees. Oh crap, I forgot about drought. Okay, so I'm gonna need about 50 seeds so that when it all said and done, when in 6 years these other trees die, I still have a solid orchard around me to sustain me. Like you have to think long term. And a lot of people don't think about how other competition sustains them in the game to push them to make them better and to learn. And I mean, like I've said in previous podcasts, I listen to other teachers, I listen to motivators, I listen to pickup artists, I listen to feminists, even though I don't like a lot what they say in gender politics. I listen to MRAs, I listen to hyper liberals, I listen to environmentalists, I listen to conservatives, I listen to Christian apologetics, I listen to a ton of stuff to absorb multiple ways of thinking, multiple worldviews, so that when I approach people, to understand that no one's going to come to me and say like, hey, Dark Logos, I'm going to approach you from a mindset of a intellectual Christian theologian in terms of heroclix that also loves philosophy. No, heck no. Never had a student like that. Never. It's always some little conglomerate or some concoction of a world that I've seen and a world that I haven't seen. So I take the time to interact with my student. Let's see that world that you haven't seen, that I haven't seen. Okay, that's there. Okay, so this is a picture you're painting me. Okay, all right, thank you. I have absorbed that. I'm now aware of it. Now let me try to communicate to you in a language that you understand. Thank you for enriching me, for showing me this other world. I don't agree with everything in the other world. I don't have to. Just because I sit there and listen and take it in doesn't mean I have to agree nor apply everything. But I say because I know that other world, I'm able to convey to you other information so that you can see what it takes to be successful navigating this path, and you understand where you can do this and where you can't do that. So, all right. So I know that was a lot longer than what I planned, but hopefully this helps you get just a basic construct for teaching heroclix and teaching students. If you notice, I didn't say, hey guys, make sure you go over your pack. Hey guys, make sure they memorize the rule book. Hey guys, make sure that you always, make sure their tokens are put there properly and they know the timing of everything. I'm not going through that, okay? Because all of that stuff changes. Per power, per figure, per stupid stuff, it all changes. But these fundamental constructs don't change. You can cross-apply this and use this in formal education. Okay? So, all right. So let's tone it down and change gears. So, all right. We're gonna go in. We're gonna start looking at Age of Ultron. We're gonna look at this drone tech and then understand the implications of this drone tech. So, what I want you to do, I want you to go to your favorite unit section, whether it's on HC Realms or whatever else. I think I've started to realize like I have to use HC Realms through Internet Explorer, or else because when I do it on Firefox, it like hangs so bad, the unit section. I don't know what it is, but it just does. So modern age, what you're going to do is you're going to use less than 120. You're going to type that in. So it's less points than 120 modern age. And then you're going to go directly to keyword, and it's going to be Avengers. That's the keyword that you're going to use. All right. Now, this is a huge reason why we're doing this. We're able to fully examine why the Ultron tech is going to work. Then we're going to look into the Hank Pym tech and show you the importance of the Hank Pym box set and why it has some BS in there that you need to be aware of. Okay. Now, do I 100% like the Ant-Man box set? No, I really don't like the figures. But daggone it, those ants are broken, and I'll explain why later. Okay, so let's get this started. So we look at the Avengers keyword, and what's the first thing we notice right up there at the top? Mr. Hank Pym and his lovely name is all over the place. All right, so out of all the characters that we can sort of summon in, we can start to notice some cool stuff. All right, so if we have the ID card, we can summon in Hank Pym. We can summon in Ant-Man. I don't think we can't summon in Yellow Jacket because that's not the right Yellow Jacket. We can summon in Iron Man, number 17 from the Age of Ultron storyline kit. I think we can summon in Black Knight. I think Black Knight is a card. I don't know what he does. I think so. I might be wrong on that one. I'm trying to go off the top of my head. We can summon in Vision, but Vision sucks. Sucks so hard. Oh, Vision, you suck. At least he has range, so you could make ranged attacks with Vision, but you suck so bad, Vision. Now, the good news is, though, I will say this. If you do summon in Vision and he gets hit, they have to dump a ton of damage into him to kill Vision. So, just saying. Alright, so Goliath, which is still summoned off of Ant-Man. Some more Hank Pyms. This is the box set, Hank Pyms. And sorry, there was a really loud commercial. So then we go into the Fast Forces, and we see we can pretty much summon the whole Fast Forces through the ID cards. Okay. But let's just keep going through. Black Widow, Hawkeye, Hellcat, Triathlon, 3D Man, Justice, Falcon. Please, Cap Falcon, be way better than this Falcon. He's not bad, but he's hella soft. Swordsman, Jarvis, he's awesome. Rick Jones, too many jokes. And more Captain America and Age of Ultron stuff. Age of Ultron movie set. Okay, so when we scroll down to the sort of tail end of everything, we're really looking at a handful of characters, a really small handful of characters that are viable and awesome. Now, there are some key ones here that I want to point out that, yeah, you're really going to look at, and for major reasons. Okay. So let's start at the bottom and work our way to the top, which means we'll start at the older stuff, then work our way up into the more current stuff. All right, so first off, we're going to look at Thor in the Dark World, Fast Forces, Thor. And you like, what? It's like, yeah, we're going to use that Thor. Why is that? For 100 points, running shot, 10 attack, 17d, 3 damage, special power, God of Thunder, he can use energy explosion. When he is given a ranged combat action, you may lock his damage value. And if you do, all hit characters are also given an action token. So he has energy explosion. So you can't okay, I got crazy damage. So yeah, I can't do crazy damage, to bump up my damage to 5. But I can just say, all right, I have a locked damage value of 3. So now I am going to attack you. I can still modify my attack value. And I'm going to hit you, and then if I get energy explosion going off, you take your 1, and then you will also get an action token, which is a lot of control. So that's pretty good for... also, you have Avengers Initiative, so that's really positive there as well. So you have a lot of advantages just starting off. Then you have the Invincible Iron Man. I think this is the gravity feed one. 201. And this one gives you solar charged steel mesh as a trait. At the beginning of your turn, if Iron Man has 2 action tokens on him, he may heal 1 damage. That's sort of useful if some weirdness goes on, but most of the time it's not. Unless something weird comes out in the future. You can't really do Summon Ancestral Spirit with this Iron Man, because even if you replace them, you couldn't replace them. I don't even think you can replace them. Helmet head, you don't even get the helmet heads up display or any of that. So you start off with a sidestep 10 attack, 17d 4 damage at 110 points. And some of you might be saying like, well, why is this a huge deal? Again, some of these Ultrons get enhancement on their second click. So that can be really huge to like up their damage. So then you're looking at, if you just do it, a 10 attack and 5 damage if you're next to a character with enhancement. Plus you have shield TA. Let's keep going. Of AVX, we're back to another Thor again. 100 points, running shot, pulse wave, 4 damage. Because he has 8 range, it's going to be a 4 range pulse wave. So you're able to get it off while being on the exact edge of whoever the character that summoned him in was. The Ultron that summoned him in. So that's really, really good. Alright. I understand some people might summon in that 100 point Captain America. I would not advise that unless you're running a very melee focused team. Alright, back to AVX, Iron Man. 100 points, energy explosion, RCE. Very short dial, so he's a lot riskier, so you got to be careful how you place him. But just being able to say, alright, I'm either 12-3 damage, 12 and 3 damage, 11-4, or 10-5. That's very flexible. So that's something to think about. Also, there's a trait that all of Iron Man's attacks generate knockback, so you can utilize that to your advantage. Alright, let's keep going up. I really didn't like that Black Widow. Okay, here we go. Captain America from the Captain America, the Winter Soldier gravity feed. Fast forces. Sidestep, 11 attack, incapacitate, 17 defense, 3 damage. A lot of control right there. 2 targets, shield TA. Really great stuff. Stealth suit. If Captain America does not make an attack during your turn, which he will, Captain America can use stealth until your next turn. When Captain America has no action tokens, he can use improved movement, ignores hindering terrain. So he can shuffle around. So it's pretty good. Alright. Next up is, let's see. This is weird, because I don't know how the Captain America Winter Soldier number 3 Black Widow would go off if you actually do have like a robot theme team, how that would work. Because she has the espionage double agent trait, I don't know how that would go. But her spycraft is really cool because she has upfront, running shot, outwit, and stealth. 3 range, which isn't that great. Avengers initiative and shield, plus shape change and combat reflexes with precision strike. So if you have something really close that you need to get and neutralize, she's a really strong option with your Black Widow card. Not the best Black Widow, but it is okay. Daredevil from Deadpool is probably going to be a bit weird. For a couple of reasons. You can't use his Ally of Heroes trait, but you can use his radar senses, super senses, just in case he gets targeted, which is a real big deal. So, this Daredevil overall, while it has a lot sort of going for it, in the current meta, it's okay. You're really mainly looking off getting the main benefit of proccing that Daredevil card. And because I have a Daredevil card, I don't have to look it up. The inspiration character can use lead climb, Improved movement ignores hindering, and improved targeting ignores hindering. So his inspiration is probably going to be used a lot more than the actual use of the character right now until we get another Daredevil. But Daredevil in particular puts us in a really, really, really weird spot. Mainly because his utility and his attack value is there as his utility as a card and his attack value as a character is on the topper end of what you can summon in. That's really big, and I don't think a lot of folks will have understand that yet. And I might do like a microcast of like saying, hey guys, understand what retirement did. But in particular, if we look at the having 11 attack base, everything that I've mentioned so far has had a 10 attack. But just think, having 11 attack, being able to manipulate that up to a 12 or a 13 with precision strike, that's pretty much an auto hit. So it's a real big deal. Real big deal. All right. Let's keep on going. Venom, if this goes down the way I'm thinking it's going to go down, Venom from Deadpool and like Agent Venom, these are the ones that make me sort of I don't know. Until I know what that card does, I can't say too much. But definitely when we're looking at this Ultron tech, you're mainly summoning them in as strikers. So the utility element of TK up front isn't that great. But if you had the ability to just sort of like bloop, get them on that click 2 with that 11 attack, 3 damage, special power, where Venom hits a single opposing character, roll a D6 that can't be re-rolled. On a result of 4 through 6, the character can't make an attack during its next turn. That's nice. Then you have plasticity, running shot in stealth. That's nice. I mean, it's nothing to scoff at. So there's a lot there that we can play with. The problem comes in is we really need that click 2 more so than that click 1. Because if we TK a character, other than that, our Ultron, it's sort of a waste because we could easily get TK through many of the other resources that we have available in modern age. Okay, so let's take move on up. The Captain Marvels, those are going to be weird because Captain Marvel in name, and then there's Captain Marvel, the actual Captain Marvel guy. But with Captain Marvel in name, you can summon in all the Carol Danvers Captain Marvel because it just says Captain Marvel on the card. If I remember correctly, that is one of the other ID cards that's coming. Having access to hypersonic speed and someone that can carry, that's really dumb. Just being able to summon in a free, hypersonic speed, 10 attack, 3 damage, like that's strong. So I definitely cannot underestimate a Captain Marvel or even the Captain Marvel Prime. Oh, like, yeah, hey, I hit you. You can't attack next turn. Too bad. Too bad for you. All right. Major Victory no longer works, so that sucks because that sucks. I'm just going to be honest. It sucks. All right, so we're going back up to Age of Avengers, Age of Ultron. This is the movie set. So first off, we have the 80-point Captain America. Why am I bringing this up? Again, this 11 attack. It's a huger deal than it was before. 3 damage. Solid damage. If you notice, our damage values aren't insane. We're not getting that 5 damage. We're occasionally getting some 4s. But it's mainly a 3 damage. But we're not looking at 2 damages and 1 damages, which is great. So pretty much, we have a really good interaction because we have Avengers Assembled when Captain America hits 1 or more characters with an attack and action resolve. The opposing player chooses Captain America may modify the damage value of a friendly character by +1 this turn, or all opposing characters modify their attack value by -1. This is a very huge defensive option, definitely if you're running that Scarlet Witch tech with Defend. So you can just automatically be like, bam, either I hit you harder, I have a higher chance of hitting you, or you have a lower chance of hitting me. And that can be really, really good. If you're also having some ability that says like adjacent friendly characters can use energy explosion, he is dumb strong. Dumb strong. I can't tell you how dumb strong he is. Okay. Then he also has his enemies fear him. Captain America can use leadership when he does and succeeds. Now remember, that power action that you do at the beginning of the turn has to be your first action, and it's still beginning of game effects. Still beginning of game effects. As long as no dials have been turned. Please remember that. As long as no dials have been turned, you can sort of rewind everything, and no dials have been turned, no dice have been rolled. You can sort of rewind and be like, oh, no, wait. No perplexes, outwits, or anything. I'm going to go summon in Captain America, roll leadership, got leadership, took the token off the guy that I just summoned him in with. Okay, cool. I still can't do anything. Okay, now I'm going to do this, and this. Okay. Or take a token off of some other like low point character. Alright, so when he does and succeeds, he may also either place an action token on a higher point opposing character within range, or he may place an action token on each lower point opposing character within range. Placing this action token doesn't deal pushing damage. So you have more access to control and lockdown. So this Captain America here, even when you're looking at charge, 10 movement, 11 attack, combat reflexes, 3 damage, Avengers Initiative, it's really good. You definitely should have one. If I had to convince you to run Age of Ultron Hawkeye, you have other problems. So that I can't convince you to you should just be able to look at that and say like, yeah, I gotta run this. Looking at the Black Widow, the Target exclusive, this one is just too dumb. You have to run this one if you're running with the Ultron, because her ability to come in and give you a pinpoint specific control, unlike that Captain America, because the Captain America, you're like, oh well, I have 11 attack, 3 damage, I land this hit, this stuff happens, I roll my leadership, this may happen. With Black Widow, it just says like, yo, Widow Sting. Black Widow hits with a ranged combat attack. You just have to hit that first one. After actions resolve, roll a d6. Okay. Roll a 4 or 6. Black Widow can use Incapacitate twice. You have a 50-50 chance. You have better odds of getting this than Captain America's leadership, which is a 1 in 3. Use Incapacitate each as a free action, but only to target a hit character. So you could be like, I hit you, big guy. Now I'm going to incapacitate. I roll a 6. I'm going to hit you, boom, incapacitate, and then hit you again, boom, incapacitate. So I've hit you, and you've taken damage now, in addition to my hit. Now here's the cool thing. If they have 2 action tokens already, you're just like, boom, I hit you, incapacitate, take another damage, boom, incapacitate, take another damage. And if they have no damage reduction, you've done 5 damage. So this Black Widow, by far, is definitely one of the main characters you need to look at for your Ultron abuse. Okay? It just is. So keep going. I like the Fast Forces Avengers Age of Ultron Thor for a couple of reasons. You're summoning him in. It's a gambit that he's going to get killed because he's very short dial. He's 5 clicks. But you get a full move charge Quake thing, or you can just have him shoot and with 11 attack 4 damage. And when Thor makes an attack, you may choose that the attack generates knockback. So you can just be like, oh, you're right by that wall and have nothing to stop you from being knocked back. Take 1 more damage. So his damage output, just base, is higher than most things that you can summon in. Okay, so you definitely have to consider that. The Fast Forces Hawkeye, you summon him in for a high attack, and if you need him to help support out the rest of your team with enhancement. Okay, Rick Jones, you don't get the benefit of the Pog guys, but you do get his penetrating psychic blast and TK, and I don't think you can do double power actions with. I don't think you can do double power actions with the summon in guys. Your turn, friendly characters, no action tokens. Give the chosen character a power action. Yeah, it says you only can use a power action. You can't do double power actions. Okay. So, anyway, I don't think you can use the galactic burst of immobilizing light, which would have been really nice. But it's a double power action. So you could summon in a 100-point Thor from the super rare Thor, but he's charged, 11 attack, 17 defense, invincible, which is nice, and Dom, which doesn't help you, and Empower, and he's 5 clicks deep. But I really like the one from the Fast Forces Avengers Age of Ultron movie set. Now, this is the other thing. The super rare, he has the trait, it's an Avengers world. Thor and adjacent friendly characters with a lower point value and an Avengers keyword can use energy explosion, which would be nice if you're able to summon in multiple guys. But this is something to think about if you're playing this Thor at 100 and then you're playing an Ultron, summoning in that Cap to do an energy explosion, the Cap from Avengers Age of Ultron, that could be a game changer right there. Just that action right there. It's like, oh, yep, triple target, energy explosion. Good game. So, just something to think about. All right, I think I've pretty much covered all of those. And the main thing that I hope you're seeing, and you might say, no love for Falcon. It's not bad. It's not the best either, but I can see the abuse. But the main thing that I want you to see, this Ultron tech is dumb. It is dumb. Because you have an option for, let's just say you're running 4 cards, 4 ID cards, that's 20 points, okay? Because we don't have too many filler figures because of retirement. But at 20 points, you run an Iron Man card, a Thor card, a Captain America card, or a Hawkeye card. Or you take off, you can do a Thor card, an Iron Man card, a Triathlon card, and a Daredevil card, just in case. Like, you have so many options. If your team has problems with stealth busting, you can easily just summon in a Jarvis card. I think Jarvis does. No. That's. I'm not sure if Jarvis does it, but I do know you just summon in Daredevil and you summon in Iron Man, and those two give you improved targeting. So improved targeting ignores hindering. So you have a lot of great options to summon in to just do massive damage. Okay, now I told you we were going to look at those Ant-Man box set ants, but let me check something real quick because I forgot. Namor has a card, and you get your Namors are from AVX, and you're really not abusing that with. Yeah, you're not abusing that at all with Ultron, so never mind. All right, so let's look at the ants, and we'll start to see some issues. All right, so Ant-Man can when you get the box set, you get an ant swarm, and then you get the giant ant. Now, switching in between, the main abuses that I see coming is this. The ant swarm has poison and super senses and sidestep with a 3 movement and 1 damage. Directly, they're not punching a hole in anyone's face. Okay? But if you give them, again, this is the ant swarm, if you're using the Star Sapphire battery and you pop a construct on there, now you have shape change, maybe a wall or something, or TK. It all depends on what you need, whatever. Now you have shape change and mystics. And you just don't turn your battery unless you're pushing it. And you're just like, okay, boom, I assign a construct out. My ant has shape change and mystics. You're either going to kill my ant and take 1 mystics, which costs me no damage, you score no points. I get my construct back, and then I'm just going to summon it back again, and then send out my ant. Or you can come and try to get my Ant-Man. And then if you come and try to get my Ant-Man, that's fine. I understand that. But here's the key thing. You come and get my Ant-Man, then I'm going to make you go through the gauntlet. But until then, I'm going to just send these ant swarms out every turn and just get them in your face. So them doing a darned if you do, darned if you don't, darned if you try, darned if you don't try sort of setup with that one resource is killer huge. Okay? And again, what do you lose? Nothing. Oh, I roll an attack and I did damage to a character that has no damage reduction? I did 1 damage. You attack me. I roll shape change. I roll super senses. Okay, splat ant. Take 1 mystics. So I did 1 damage to you. The engagement, no matter what, your opponent is taking a damage. Now, you might say, like, Dark Logos, that's slow, that's a very methodical tempo. And yes, it's not for everybody. But Ant-Man Swarm Pogs are stupid. They're stupid. Okay? Next up is Giant Ant. Now, Giant Ant has sidestep, 10 attack, 17 defense with willpower, and exploit weakness. And I have blades. So this ant can possibly do 6 damage to you. Now, let's come back. All right, you're saying, well, Dark Logos, hey, you're going to say put the Mystic Pog on him too? Yes, you could. You can put the mystical construct onto him, the Star Sapphire construct on him. Now he has mystics. Great. And if you're doing Golden Age, Cypher is your friend. Okay? So you're back like Dark Logos, you're on this stuff. I don't get why these pogs are so good. All right, so let's look at some key things. I can have 2 Ant-Mans, each at 50 points. Okay? And they can bring in, they make they change in, and then they poof, they bring in, let me make sure. Let me get the right one. Yeah, okay, so never mind. So here's what I do. I start with some Giant Mans or whatever, and then I'm like, all right, poof, I move into Ant-Man. Then the Ant Swarm thing kicks in. When this character is brought into the game through the morph trait, you may place an Ant Swarm bystander token into an adjacent square. So I have to morph to generate the ant. All right. So the generation starts with the smaller guys. All right. Now if I go to Giant Man, you get Giant Ant. When this character is brought into the game from morph ability, you may replace an adjacent Ant Swarm bystander token with a Giant Ant bystander token. Now here's where it comes down to. I can pretty much generate multiple ants if I just like morph in between Ant-Mans, because there's no limitation on which Ant-Man I'm going into, okay? Because there's multiple Ant-Mans. All right. The other thing that it becomes interesting is this. If I have a Giant Man and an Ant-Man on the field, and I just have them go back and forth between one being Giant Man and one being Ant-Man, I can easily in the same turn, as long as that Ant Swarm is adjacent, turn that Ant Swarm into a Giant Ant. Now you're also saying, like, but Dark Logos, that's 100 points just to get a Giant Ant. What's the advantage of a big old Giant Ant? Come on, man. You know, you're just wasting time and actions and stuff. You could be attacking, blah blah blah. Okay, with the Giant Ant being standard size, I can carry that Giant Ant. It can sidestep afterward. it has exploit weakness. So if I deal with Silver Centurion, it can be an issue. Like, it can actually be a legit threat. So there's a lot of stuff that comes in there, in which in the same turn you can make it from ant swarm to giant ant, and then generate the next turn again another ant swarm, and then giant ant. Okay, you can generate a ton, and I do mean a ton, of these little buggers really fast. Now, and this is the huge element. This is a huge element. We're going to go in. It's 7 movement, 10 attack, 17 defense, 2 damage. So we're going to type that in there. But more along the lines, let's just, yeah. So we're going back in. So 7 movement, we don't care. 10 attack, 17 defense, and then 2 damage. And then on first click only, search. Okay, so if we look at that on the first click, see, we got Bjorn. He's 75 points. He has exploit, and he has range. Then we have Haldir. He's 60 points. But let's try to go into... Let's go into some other stuff. Let's see. Black Cat's 45 points. Wolverine from Avengers vs. X-Men. He's 75 points. Dark Elf Soldier is 50 points. Okay, so what we're functionally doing is generating for free a extra 30 to 50 points of value on our team for just shuffling these 2 guys around perpetually. And they can be armed up however you want them to be armed up, or not at all. It's up to you. Okay? But what I really want you to get is that just having those 2 at 50 points and investing that 100 points of shuffling, you can generate a large army of ants, and your opponent is pretty much powerless to stop you. And as long as you know with your setup that you're making it so that your opponent has to come to you, and by the time they come to you, you're going to have 2 or 3 of those giant ants up. It's not a wrap, but it's going to be frustrating, because you have to look at it like this. The average attack is 3 damage. If they don't have energy explosion, you generate 3 ants. That's 3 attacks that are not hitting your main figures. That's 3 attack turns, or 3 attacks worth, that those ants have to attack or get into place or to tie up, or to allow another character that's essential to your team to stop them from dying. And there's nothing stopping them from coming back. So that's today's show. Again, sorry that it's late. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you got some insight into some things that are going down. I'm still collecting pictures from people that won the contest. And next week's show will be the, hey, thanks, Mike, for doing awesome stuff, hopefully, picture slideshow. So definitely check that out. So you can follow me on Twitter at StartOverPod. It came from outer space and told me, man, if you want to think big, you got to start small. You can check out all my random musings on the Twitters. Also, you can find out cool information, like there's t-shirt sales for on TeePublic. So right now, if you buy a Starting Over Podcast t-shirt, and again, these are going to be our limited edition first print only t-shirts, so they're not coming back. So with the little white box. So if you pick it up now, folks will be like, oh, you have the limited edition t-shirt. But yeah, it's the limited edition Starting Over Podcast t-shirt. It should be $14 for a t-shirt. And if you want a sweatshirt or anything else, it'll be a little bit cheaper. Also, you can email me at startingoverpodcast@gmail.com. That's startingoverpodcast@gmail.com. If you wish to opine, keep it piffy, keep it interesting, keep it awesome, baby. Tell me about how your Age of Ultron events are going. What do you think of it so far? I haven't heard too much positive. It's mainly, why do I need so many Ant-Mans and Ultrons? And you can go on the blog, startingoverpodcast.blogspot.com. If you go on there, you can donate to the show, and also check out the buy list for the newest sets that are out. Whoo! Oh yeah, and also buy my shirt. Buy my shirt. Okay. So that's the end of the self plugging. So again, I really hope you enjoyed today's show. I really do think that the future of the game is going to be based on who are the grand teachers of the students in the future. I think there always is self-learning, but I think self-learning's time can be maximized a lot better if there are excellent teachers. So having better competition makes me a better player, also gives me better competition to go against, which makes me a better player, which lets me teach and make better students. All right, so thank you all for listening, and remember, we all have to start over sometime.